holding us hostage.
Held captive at
I'm not angry.
hundreds of people.
We need whoever to give cues to speak loudly. That's better. That's better. It's so much better for me and Richard both. Thank you. Yeah, how long you want me to talk, Karen? Do you mean to explain what's happened? Yeah, because we need to give a recap. Yeah. For the first time, yeah. Right. Are you guys going to be airing any video? Is it all just me and Richard live?
I like Richard.
Rickard.
The Rickard cabinet.
It's just us. Copy. Just wanted to verify. Thank you. Not a problem. Are you guys going to have aerials on the side by any chance?
No.
They said no? Okay, no. I got it. Hey, Octavius, I can hear you. Just make sure I don't care if you yell at me so we can hear and not miss cues tonight. Thank you, sir. Just loud. Okay.
Standby show starting.
I don't hear anything.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
Stand by, Brittany. Stand by.
Alicia, right now we have a standoff essentially between both protesters and also area law enforcement. I want to take a look right now behind me. You can see all of the different jurisdictions that are working together right now, from APD, you've got National Guard, you've also got Georgia troopers, multiple jurisdictions out here trying to form a wall along Washington and Trinity Avenue. They have this intersection shut down as protesters who were in the street have been moved to the sidewalks. It looks like we're starting to see some movement over on the left-hand side now, but I want to walk you through what happened. This all originated at a 3 p.m. Protest outside of City Hall. From there, it evolved into a march, and we actually started going towards the direction of the 75 connector. When that happened, that is when we had a lot of things developed. We saw multiple cop cars who were trying to go down the connector alongside the protesters. We saw them get blocked off by hundreds of protesters. And so when that happened, that's when they called for backup, and we saw a full force of responders coming out to handle this protest. And from there, it's just kind of grown from that situation. We've seen multiple people detained, possibly arrested. No word yet on that, but a lot of people having their hands zip tied and also let off. And right now, again, we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen and how responders are going to respond. Guys?
In the city. I'm telling you, y'all think it's bad. Block all these places. Watch this man show This is not a good move.
There's the...
Yeah, her mouth was going to get her in trouble.
What'd she say?
Well, she's the one who was like getting lippy with cops the whole time. Watch yourself. He looked like he was getting trigger happy.
Karen, you can come to me.
Hands up!
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Sean, Alicia, right now we're on Washington Street where the Georgia Department of Corrections, they have 6 different state inmate buses where they are taking all of those protesters who they are detaining. You can see one person right now, this young man, being led into the bus. Looks like right now they're checking his backpack, going through his things. He does have his hands behind him, zip tied, but this is happening, you know, along all of these buses. We keep seeing a steady stream of protesters being led this way and, if you will, sort of processed. We've got another gentleman just being led over here right now. He's going to be kind of waiting in line until officers finish going through this protesters' bag of items as they check through things. But you know, detainment, that is happening. Protesters are being detained. We don't know if anyone is arrested yet, but we're just seeing person by person being led over here by different jurisdictions, and they're coming over with their hands behind their back, zip tied, and after their belongings are go through, they are put up on these buses from the Georgia Department of Corrections. It does appear, though, that the intersection, the sidewalks, and everything to my right over here by Washington and Trinity, that is starting to open up. They brought the sidewalks back open a few minutes ago to try and funnel the protesters away from this intersection, so that might be helping as well. But essentially they have made a concentrated effort to try and push back all of the protesters away from both the 75 connector where we got stuck earlier and also this intersection over here by Washington and Trinity. Again, what you are looking at right now is a live view of people being detained, the protesters, and being led onto these buses, guys. Yeah, Sean, you make a great point, and it's coming right now. National Guard members over here with their shields. They're in a formation. They're in a line. They're now speeding things up right by me over here. It looks like they have been pushed back towards the other end of City Hall. They're now rushing over there quickly, so I'm not sure what has developed on that side, because right now I am by the bus. So there could be something happening because a large number of them, about 24 or so, have started running, going towards the opposite side of City Hall. Sean? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Sean, so I am about half a block up now from Trinity and Washington Street, and where you see us going right now is past the back end of the department, Georgia Department of Corrections buses, which were parked out here in order to kind of maintain that overflow of all of those protesters who are being detained. We are catching up now with that National Guard, a few of those members that we saw take off earlier. If you look ahead in front of us, I do see a medic from the National Guard with that big red cross on his backpack. It does look like a sort of a perimeter has started to be formed out here around City Hall, so we weren't sure earlier whether or not people were taking, if the National Guard were taking off to respond to a problem, or if they were just getting, organized and in formation. All right, so let's give you an update as we're walking here. Stand by. We are going to Washington and Mitchell. This is where we're seeing a lot more development, where the National Guard is coming up here. They're talking amongst themselves, and it looks like they're getting into a formation. Back in the distance, though, over there, you can see, is that APD, Richard, over here? With with the, batons, the shields up, the face masks. So it looks like a perimeter is really being established, Sean, around this entire area as they've tried to push the protesters along the sidewalks and block off all of the main streets. That way, those crowds aren't forming in the middle of the streets, rather, but being dispersed on the sidewalks so maybe that they can break away and leave. Sean? Great question, Sean. So, originally things were, when we started this march with the protesters over in front of City Hall at 3, you didn't have this amount of law enforcement out here. Now we're starting to see more people come out because of the size of the crowd and because things started to escalate. What we haven't seen, though, is I have not personally witnessed any type of violence or anything break out in that form or fashion. I can tell you, though, I've seen a lot of people detained. I'm not sure for what, but I haven't seen anything violent break out. So it does seem like, everything's being handled in more of a controlled fashion by all these law enforcement. And remember, the APD that we had towards that intersection, which I showed you towards the beginning of this live shot, they are now marching up Washington Street on my right. Richard, if we pan the camera this way, you can see that movement as they have shields up, face mask on, and they march in formation. You're hearing orders yelled out right now. I'm going to let you listen in. National Guard on the right, moving up the street. Well, there were 6 buses, and they were focusing mainly on 2, which is where a steady stream of officers were leading a lot of those protesters who they already had zip-tied. Earlier in the show, you did ask whether or not those officers, had on the gear and that sort of thing. I feel like those officers were the ones kind of staying in that area to process all of those incoming protesters that were being detained, while everyone else had the National Guard and, APD and all the other jurisdictions with their gear. They were still kind of protecting the different intersections and around City Hall. So what you saw earlier was really just kind of the processing stage of making sure those protesters who were detained made it onto the bus. They were checking their pockets, checking their backpacks, making sure that there were no weapons, nothing that could hurt anyone. So once they were getting through with that stuff, it was just person after person. With my eyes personally, I probably have seen maybe 24 detained, and that is from the originating 75 interaction between both protesters and police all the way through those buses where we were seeing people loaded on. Sean? I think right now, Sean, regardless of, whether you are law enforcement or protesters, there's a tension in the air, okay? It's just because of everything that's going on, everything that's happened, and no one really knows what's next. So I think there's more of a nervousness more than feeling unsafe. I can tell you that on our Facebook, CBS 46 Facebook page, on our live stream earlier, you can go back and watch it for all our viewers out there if you would like. We did have an interview with one man who was detained, and then after the speaker of the group came forward and spoke with law enforcement, he was released and cut loose. And then I asked him about it as we were walking back from the 75 connector to City Hall. I said, hey man, what happened? What were you told? And he said that there was actually a healthy dialogue and that the police officer spoke to him in a very calm, respectful manner and told him, when you are being detained, make sure you do this with your hands, and gave him certain direction and order about how to respond when you are detained by a police officer to make sure that things don't escalate and to make sure things don't get out of control. I asked him, I said, what do you feel about that response? And he told me that he felt like he was treated in a respectful way, and that was a bit, in a way, on a very tiny level, some progress, because it didn't get out of control and they were listened to, and because of that discussion and healthy dialogue that happened, he was released. Sean? Everything that I'm seeing, Sean, now maybe from that aerial view, I can hear the chopper up ahead. So maybe that aerial view is giving you a broader look of the landscape down here, more than what I can see over here on the ground. But from what I'm witnessing here around, Washington and Mitchell, all of this is blocked off, but I'm not sure if one block down in either direction, if traffic has been diverted or not. I can tell you, running perpendicular to here, that I do see traffic stops ahead, because you cannot come down Washington Street. And this all happened because of the original, interchange between both protesters and police on that 75 connector, which we showed you on our live stream. Right now, we've got additional law enforcement coming in with ATVs. We've got, Department of Natural Resources coming in, bringing the ATVs. We saw them out last night during the protesters. They were driving around in lines trying to address some of the issues. So those trucks right now are ushering in those SUVs, and they're being taken behind this sectioned off area where it looks like a lot of the police are starting to gather. We're still seeing APD over by the Capitol, and National Guard has more arriving, and they are outside of a bus right now to my right. It doesn't look like they have gear on yet. It kind of looks like they are in a sort of standby mode right now, just from what I'm observing. But again, you're seeing all of these vehicles being ushered in here along Washington Street, Sean. Right. Right. Correct.
No, we need to sit down.
Yeah, I don't know where we need to go, because, yeah, I think we need to go up and down, Karen.
Maybe we need to go back down that way.
Copy, we're moving.
You're fine.
Copy. Copy. Which location are they showing exactly? Can you hold this for 1 second? I need it now. Can you get the tail end of them, Fulton County Sheriffs, Richard, to the left? No. Alicia, we just saw Fulton County Sheriff's Office come, and about 10 different personnel jumped out of this vehicle right here. They did have gas masks on, and we saw them out with canisters in their hands. They are heading towards north on Washington Street. So we came back up to Washington and Trinity, and 2 buses just moved out that had a lot of the protesters who were detained. 2 other buses have moved forward to take their places, and we do see 2 women over here, one in the shorts, one in the skirt, getting their hands zip tied behind their back, and so it looks like they are in the process of being detained as well. But we did see 2 buses just zip out of here. We're going to continue actually and follow the Fulton County Sheriff. Oh my goodness! So this young woman in the white shirt just yelled and spit into the face of one of these responders over here to my right, the one that you're looking at. So she is currently, I think, being zip tied right now, but emotions very high. We're going to go and track down the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, who just went in the opposite direction with the gas mask and canisters, and check back in with you in a little bit, guys. And was that talking to me? I pulled my earpiece out for a second. What? We do need to move, Karen, because I don't know where Fulton County went with those canisters, but we're not where the crowd is. So I think that they're going to go do something. I'm not sure. Yeah, let's do that. Because, yep.
How does she want to walk to?
We need to go that way because that's where the crowds were going, in that direction. Yes, it was. They're 2 streets over. Do you disagree? Where do you think
Totally disagree.
Where do you think the crowds
I
are?
think they were dispersing them from the Capitol.
No, yeah, the street past the Capitol is where I saw
think
everyone.
It's been dispersed.
You think where?
I think it's been dispersed. They had a bunch of people just like under arrest down here.
Okay, do you want to go that way?
I don't know if they're going to let you.
Well, they're walking over that way. We can head towards that direction. You want to cross right here and go down?
What's that?
You want to cross right here and go down?
I don't think they're going to let you cross.
Well, or we can cross over there. They're walking.
We can try to cross here.
Okay. What?
The walking stuff hurts.
Okay, well, do you want to, we can stop right over here and show. Where are you seeing the protesters, though, down here?
So I don't understand why we show up with posters, they show up with fucking.
Alicia and Sean, it really has. And we showed you that entire interchange. And from what we saw after that young woman spat in the officer's face, we did not see him retaliate in any way. He did just go ahead and lead her onto that bus where detainees were being held. We're now returning right now and walking back towards Washington and Memorial. This is where things originally started as a group of protesters went towards the 75 connector and blocked them off. It looks like several tables are being set up right now. This might be a place where people are being processed, because look at the crowd number of detainees, likely detainees rather, I should say, of protesters right now who have their hands zip tied behind their back. They're standing almost in a line. Some are on the sidewalk sitting down, but it looks like you have a large presence of APD over here setting up tables and getting ready to maybe process this large group. We also have another City of Atlanta corrections bus in the background where you can see people being led off of that bus in hand ties. So I don't know if that bus was bringing protesters who were detained from other parts, and if this is more of kind of like a staging point for everyone to get organized as far as law enforcement and to process the number of protesters that we have seen being detained. This is the largest number that I have seen in a group since in the past 24 hours. So this is kind of what has happened here along Washington and Memorial, which earlier was flooded with protesters and police couldn't even get by. Sean? Copy, copy. Yeah, Sean, I can hear you right here. Yeah, Sean, that was the original group that we were with. So we were with several hundred people, around 200 to 300 people from City Hall. It marched down to the connector, blocked everything off, trapped 3 different patrol cars inside a large circle of individuals, and that is when this massive response erupted. So yes, they are very much connected, and this is the aftermath that you are seeing right now as several dozen people are have their hands zip tied behind their back, and it looks like they're being processed by APD. Sean? But what was I going to do? Not jump back on?
Yeah.
But no.
What? Well, I'm giving them shots. I'm giving them shots, just lower ones. Sally did a package?
She was there today, yeah. I think they had a GA team there.
Oh.
Deborah. Huh? No, I'm talking to one of my students in the orange shirt. That's one of my students. Deborah. Huh? Oh, I'm not going over there. I'm going to she's my member. Yeah, I'm not. And I'll be in fact, she's a freshman. She's 50 now. Wait, what do you teach? At the Clark Atlanta University. I'm a pastor of the largest church in town. I'm sorry, Dr. King is 59. So he's a living in a while. I'm 78 years old now. And she's a
Hey, I heard you. I don't really have much of an update out here. Sorry, I was drinking water. I don't have much of an update.
And behind the church. I got arrested behind the church. Not even on city property.
No, that's
That's not public. I was escorting the young people.
yeah.
And I told them who I was. They said they did not care. So it was the state police. It was not the city. And I want to be clear. This was not the city. This was the state police.
Are you under arrest right now?
I'm under arrest right now. Waiting to be processed.
Hey, Karen. Karen, you can come to me. Would you want to do a live interview?
Sure. Come on, baby. Come on. Give me a shot.
Put your water down, girl.
I'm trying to put my water down. I'm trying to put all my stuff in my...
Oh, they're gonna move her. They moved her.
They moved her. They saw that coming. Were you with her?
Oh, yeah, I'm her.
Can you be her spokesperson?
She was my student when she
Okay.
was 18.
Come on.
I'm all what percent?
What's her name again?
Deborah Scott.
No, she has her phone. I have. Oh, you want to use my phone?
And you were behind.
What is she being arrested for?
She was behind the church, and I guess they told them to move. And she was escorting a lot of young people. I was her dean at Clark when she was 18. She's 52 now. That's how long I've known her. She heads up. All right, stand up. All right, Doc. All right.
Now, are they processing and giving tickets and releasing here? Do you know what's going on?
They're not going to release them, I'm sure. I don't know what they're doing.
Brittany, stand by. You gotta leave.
But she's working with the mayor and all of this stuff.
Yeah. Sean, real quick, take a look over here. This Atlanta police officer in the back of this cruiser, hang on, sound just went off. I think it was like a firework or something. But in the back of this cruiser, we have Deborah Scott. She says that she was escorting a group of students around and that even the area officers kind of knew who she was as a community member and that she was arrested. She actually had on the metal handcuffs behind her back when we first started talking to her. We were about to go live with her in an interview, and then police took her away from our cameras and put her in the back of this squad car. But right now we're joined live by one of her friends. Tell me a little bit about what happened.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Gerald Durley. I started with Dr. King in 1959, previous pastor of Providence Missionary Baptist Church, and also dean at Clark Atlanta University. Deborah Scott
was my student when she was 18. She's the president, and now they've put her in the police car. I don't know what's going to happen there, but she's not over there with the rest of them. I don't know, but she's one of them strong people for the last 25 years in voting rights, civil rights, Census Bureau. So I don't know. They're taking her away right now.
And, you know, she was having a very calm dialogue with police. We did see her standing over here, separate from the group, handcuffed instead of with the hand ties, the plastic hand ties. She had the metal handcuffs. Do we know what's kind of different about this treatment at all?
I don't know what's the difference. I know that she is a very special person who's been on the battlefield a long time, since her freshman year in college, and now, and maybe they're taking her to a special place. They're processing the rest of them behind us now with this, so I don't know why she had on metal handcuffs.
What were you guys doing when all of this kind of happened? What was the energy like that led to her escorting a group of students to then being placed under arrest?
I came later. They called me at home and said, Dr. Durley, you need to come down here. And so I said, for what? They said, we need some of the veterans for the movement. So I came down, and they were clearing off the front of City Hall, and they're coming over this way. And she was with that group. She was protecting them, and she got arrested.
All right, thank you, sir, for explaining everything that happened with Miss Scott. Again, Sean, this is kind of the processing area over here by Washington and Memorial, where anyone who has been detained is either being lined up along the sidewalk or in the street as they kind of process them. This is being done by APD at some tables that they've set up right over here. I'm not sure if you can see it through this line of officers, but that is where kind of the processing stage is happening. Sean?
Oh.
I couldn't hear.
That's why I was like...
I wasn't looking.
I think what's going to be very critical is that one has to know the infusion of the crowds. The other night when we were down there, before we had the press conference at the mayor's office, there were outside insurgents, and she's been one that's always been calming effect. Tomorrow I'll be holding a press conference on the Capitol for interfaith Muslims, Christians, and Jews on the Capitol at 11 o'clock.
You want to text me any of the information? I'll give you my phone number.
Well, if you can remember, 11 o'clock at Capitol, it'll be Muslims, Christians, Jews,
okay, 11
the
o'clock.
largest.
Got it.
Yeah?
Do you know where she went?
I have no idea.
There's a lot of people here. It's okay. No, thank you.
She had a blue top on?
She had a black. But
Black
she had
top.
cameras. Like,
Oh, I didn't see.
DSLR cameras.
We didn't see it.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I am not with you.
Where are you going?
Swap.
Okay.
Did she really take a lunch break?
I split my sandwich right next to
In the middle of the 4 o'clock news, you're taking a lunch break?
I ate a sandwich.
Oh my goodness.
I ate a sandwich. Half a sandwich. Half a sandwich.
Took your lunch break.
Listen, Nutella and I need our energy. We run out of energy quicker than you do.
Well, after this next hit, I'm changing my shoes.
To what?
I have boots. I have 3 sets of shoes today.
Yo, how was that chicken sandwich, bro?
What? Anytime you want to, like, you know, come here, that's what we do. We get
Look, I always said it. Know what it's like there.
Those are some colorful shoes.
Yo, those Nikes are tight.
Right?
They have matched.
Yeah, I like those. There we go.
They just had the medic box. They had a thing out. That was no lower. What's that? One more time? Oh. Hey. It's not too bad, just after time. After, you know. Sure. Take a picture of him.
Hang on. All right, ready? Hang on. Oh no, it's like, oh, hang on. What happened to my camera? It froze. Hang on.
I never have heard.
Did you get it?
No, hang on. My phone's freezing.
If you ever fall or something, you know, don't expect her to pick the camera up.
What's that?
So if you ever fall or something, don't expect her to pick the camera up.
Oh, yeah. This one's probably not too bad. This is a couple pounds.
You ready? Are you going to be in this?
No, I don't want to be in it.
Get out then. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. I got a mic check. Give me the mic.
I got it.
Dude, I think you could do a solid job. How heavy was it for you?
Why
Like 25
are you charging this phone in your pocket? Like, what is this doing?
I got one on charging. I got one on IFB.
Why isn't this in your backpack? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Because that's how I can talk to them with. I talked to one person on. I talked to them on Thread with this phone, and then I have IFB on the other phone. So I do two
Don't worry
separate
about the
things.
thread. We need to get less
Yeah, that's
wires.
how I find out what I'm doing.
I understand, but you got way too many wires hanging down.
Hang on, I got this. I'm gonna put.
Change
Your car, y'all need to move.
Here, it's 2-minute break. Let me go get my shoes changed. And no, I'm not done.
I didn't say nothing.
What's the purpose of the big locks on the back?
So people can't break in to the door and then take all of our expensive
The
gear.
door wouldn't be able to open. They can get in that, but they couldn't open the back door.
The back cage door. The cage is separated from in here.
I have one here.
What's that? So there's
What do you want to show for the 5? What do you want to show for the 5? We're 5 minutes out from the 5.
They shouldn't come to you until 5.
I know, but I just don't know. That's the.
Walk up to the corner on that side of City Hall.
Yeah, let's go. We'll go check that out over there. This is such a better truck location than yesterday.
Oh yeah, it is.
And I can tell you right now, there's no way if we hadn't moved that car at 7:30 that I could have done that 2 miles back at the end of the night. There's no way.
Oh, at 11 o'clock? I wouldn't take it.
Do you need a water? You can throw that one in. It doesn't matter, just anyway. Trash is trash. Hey, they're coming to you out of this.
Hey guys, how's it going? Do the protesters go this way? I'm still trying to find something, Jason. Okay.
Let's talk about the guard still here. Stay here, stay here. There's media right there, so go this way. Thank you. We'll show the guard.
Okay. So I can't show those buses?
What?
Can't show the buses?
Yeah, but there's Channel 11's right there.
They're moving.
I don't really want to show them. Stand by.
Alicia, it's been very tense, but it has started to calm down. It's a little bit more peaceful out here. We're not seeing a lot of protesters. We are seeing a random few people kind of pass by on the sidewalk like this, but most of them have been just heading to the car. We haven't seen the large groups out here. You can clearly see the huge National Guard presence still out here over by Washington and Mitchell. We're also seeing a lot of APD officers as well down here by some of the patrol units. And also several of the buses where a lot of the detainees were taken to. We had six total buses where these detainees were going to be loaded up on, and we've seen two drive away from this scene. There still are several left, and we showed you earlier in the CBS 46 newscast a little bit about the processing table and station that was set up about 2 blocks down that way, further down Washington Street. If you take a look at this video, you can see some of the people who were detained. They are being tied, their hands behind their back with those plastic ties, those zip ties, and they have been processed at those stations or also driven away on some of those Georgia state inmate transport buses. As far as the large crowds, we're not still seeing it down by the City Hall area or the Capitol. Those have dispersed a little bit, guys.
You're quick.
So I was hearing another reporter in my ear. Who was that?
He's talking to you. Jason said next time if you want to go to some of the rest video, you can.
Okay. No, but in my IFB, I'm hearing another reporter. Is it another?
It's you.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
It's you in the B-roll talking about the
No,
arrest when we were live.
No.
Yes.
No.
I'm listening to your IFB. It's you, trust me.
That's Astrid.
Yes, because Astrid's live on the air now. Your VO had you sound talking over
I
it.
couldn't, I don't know what that was. I was distracted.
Let's go up to the next intersection. So we could just like show the corner and the Capitol. This is open to traffic. They have Washington, I think, right?
Washington and Martin Luther is open.
Right, but no, Washington's closed.
So Washington's closed, but
I said MLK's open.
yeah.
You don't say the cross street if the road's open. And then we can kind of walk back and show that the Capitol's under guard and they have it closed off so people can't go there. Basically, the Capitol's closed. How'd you like to be moving right now? She caught a mod beaver.
No, she.
Looks like they might be ready to start opening up Washington.
Hey, Mary, it's Brittany. Oh, it's Brittany. Hey, listen, where we are, everything is wrapped up at this time. Do you have, Karen told me to call the desk for direction. Do you have any idea on where we should go next? Okay.
What are they saying? They want us to move? When are we moving? Yes, Mina, you phone since Brittany Miller wrote this story.
She said, let me check the interview with Mayor Keisha.
Who said that? Yeah, I mean, obviously. How? Who are you going to call? The desk can do a better job calling. We don't know where they are. If that's what they want, let's start walking back that way.
We're going to be moved anyway, so
That's fine.
let's just go back that way.
I was just trying to give you a different angle.
No, I appreciate it. not sure where we're going, but we're just going to go to the van and at least get resituated and be ready to move.
No word if they like hammers and nails. Right?
What are they gonna get?
What did they say?
I don't think he's coming back. He said he thought he had an idea of like where I was going next, but he needed to like check with producers and I think Peter or something. So he said he's gonna call me back in a minute.
There you go.
Yo, you're on speaker.
Hey there, so everything's died down with you guys? There's nothing to shoot anymore? Nothing to see?
No.
Nothing.
Alright then, alright, I'm gonna start having you guys make your way to Centennial Park, okay?
Hey, how are
Like
you?
it's getting ready to get ramped up at the hot spot.
Okie dokie. Us and my awesome security guard, Daryl, who I'm gonna replace Frieden with, is gonna be en route.
Okay, please, thank you.
Bye-bye.
She looked like she set you up, boss man.
No, I set him up.
I can tell. It's all on his face. My boss right there said